Hi, Ben.
Hi, Carl.
I was just making fun of you for doing the slowest sync claps in the known universe. Every time we start an episode, we want to make sure the video gets lined up and the audio gets lined up. If you count down 3, 2, 1 at like negative 10 beats per minute, it is so just agonizingly slow. And I make fun of you every time.
It's not physically possible, but it happens.
Yeah, and I make fun of you every week. Every week, every week, and you don't learn. I need to bully you more aggressively.
I did get better. I would like to say that I did get better, but then we had this big hiatus, and then I reverted to terrible habits. I reverted for like 130, way back down to 20 BPM.
So we should probably release like a compilation of all of the absurdly slow sync claps that nobody will watch. It'll just be for me.
I've definitely sampled some of our claps, though. It's been fun.
Oh, nice. I think we sampled some of the claps for the intro music, right?
No. We're not that fancy.
We should.
We should add it?
We should add it.
We should just add like a really slow countdown to the intro music. And it's just, just like before, instead of jumping right into our theme music, it's like 3, 2.
Oh, God.
Hi, Ben.
Yes, because the goal of an engaging podcast intro is to make everybody turn the podcast off, Ben. That's a really great reverse psychology strategy.
It's like those movies that are so bad that they're the best movie ever, like The Room. You know what I'm talking about.
You want this to be the Sharknado of podcasts?
I don't know what a Sharknado is.
You don't know what a Sharknado? Okay, so we need to have
Educate
I need
me.
to bully you for multiple things now. Okay, so
let's go.
On a more positive note, I think, less Sharknado related, what I wanted to bring up today was to ask you your thoughts on developing a unique sound. I feel like that's something that everybody talks about, everybody thinks about, but nobody ever really puts that into any sort of actionable, tangible, thing. So I wanted to see what your thoughts are on that.
Okay. So I'm not sure that I have a sonic signature brand, but I do know that I have a sonic taste. And I do know that I'm educated from all the music that I've listened to and all the music that I've gravitated towards and love. And I know that I've like compiled it in my brain, but I don't know if I'm necessarily, maybe I do because I'm reaching for some things typically. Like I'm usually going for sort of heavier bass sound, less bright. I don't really like bright bass strings. I do like I definitely like know when I hear the snare the way I want it after I've compressed it and EQ'd it. Like I definitely have things that I will work towards and have a sound. And I probably do have a sound, but it's just an amalgamation of all the things that I like, all the palettes that I know work for different kinds of music, and then just like applying what I think would work for a particular song based on that library in my head. I feel like I always talk about the discography in the head. And that is same thing. It's just, why do I gravitate towards dark, depressing Radiohead music? Like, I don't know. I just love that shit. But then I also really love Motown. And then I'm getting into Dylan now. I know it's like in vogue because of the movie. But like also like Phil's conversations of like getting into like, I don't know, raw emotion over perfect production. So yeah, but like I know what I like and I know why I like the things that I like and why I'm gravitating towards them. Because sometimes you just need maybe I said I don't know why I love it, but I love it, but maybe I do know why I love it. I'm making no sense here, but basically there's a lot of music that I like and I've incorporated it into things that I do, and I'll use different things for different things. And I guess every song will require different parts of that palette, but probably once the gestalt of the mix comes together, it sounds like me. And I don't really know if I could specify it more than that. Does that make sense?
I think so. I agree with you. on a lot of that. I think something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, which is why I wanted to, get your thoughts on this.
Good.
Is that, I feel like the sonic signature that we have, like our own like sonic identity, even when it is versatile, even when it is kind of a bit, everywhere, I feel like it's mostly influenced by the music that we're getting asked to work on more so than anything else. And I feel like if you're working on a lot of projects that are maybe a different vibe than what you normally would want to do, then your signature maybe unintentionally becomes a bit clouded by that, or formed by the music that you actually don't want to be your signature, if that makes sense. I haven't fully been able to express this. So stop me along the way if I start sounding like a crazy, gibberish speaking person on the subway. But I think like, we all talk about wanting to develop a signature sound. And when we think of people that maybe do have a signature sound, more often than not, it's because of the artist that they work with and because of the stylistic choices that artist is making and is also, encouraging the engineer or the producer to make. And I think also as time's been going on and there's been more and more producers, more and more engineers, just because of the accessibility to getting gear and recording has been so much easier, I feel like it's been a lot less obvious what that signature is. For each person. And I do believe we all each individually have one. I just think it may not be as easy to describe.
Well, music is also super blended now. We're in an era that's almost like a post-genre era, right? Like like what Billie Eilish songs or bossa novas, like what's going on, the world is so weird now. Like really, there were time periods where like a certain genre had a sound, right? Like 90s, grunge music had a sound, and like great 90s punk music had a sound, like Green Day or whatever. And now people are using those sounds in pop music. Like, think about like Olivia Rodrigo or whatever. Like it's all okay, So, and because
which I love. Love.
Which Carl loves, and I think I love too. I don't know if I'm as adamantly in love with it as you are, but I think I do like it. I like that it's cool to like every music. I think when we were growing up, like if you were cool, you were into like rock music and not into pop music, and now it's cool to be into pop music and rock music, right? Like that is true.
I always say it's because of the iPod, like the iPod Shuffle, and just like the ease of access to be able to listen to all sorts of different things all back to back.
I feel like streaming did that more than the iPod. Like maybe you're right.
I think iPod was like, especially with the shuffle functions, I think that was maybe the beginnings of it. That
like destroyed like the record and like the sonic nature, like the signature sonic sound of the record, which might have been more like what we started this episode talking about. Kind of got, you're right, kind of got like sliced and diced.
Yeah, and it became more common to go to essentially have, genre ADHD with what you like and listen to, and then it just kind of kept going. I feel like the iPods walked so streaming services could run.
Right. What's next, Carl? What happens next?
Brain chip implants, probably.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah, the Matrix. We find out it's all been a simulation the whole time.
I would not be surprised by that at all. But
I'm like, that could totally be the situation. I haven't canceled that. I haven't ruled that out in my brain.
That's another episode. That's for our other podcast.
That's for our other podcast, like sonic philosophies. I don't know what that would even be. But here we are.
Sign me up for that one.
Sonic philosophies. That sounds good. Should we just rebrand this whole podcast as Sonic Philosophies? It's been secret for too long. It's time to just get into the deep territories here. Where were we?
We're talking about sonic signatures.
Sonic signatures.
I mean, I want to make an argument, and I'm not sure if I believe this argument or not. I just want to kind of pose it for debate club here. But I would almost say that your sonic signature is more based on what you listen to and what excites you more so than what you actually do. I think sonic signatures are becoming harder and harder to identify and articulate, I think. And maybe we feel them more than we hear them, right? Like we can probably feel, I don't know. I think whenever I hear something and I'm like, I'm trying to think of an example, like an older example, like when I hear a CLA mix, I know it's a CLA mix because I'm just like,
You can hear the compression in the drums. And
yeah, because I'm
everything.
just like, I don't really love it. And I know like, I remember when my old band worked with Mark Needham for our first album, and one of the things that the singer pointed out was that like he could always hear a Mark Needham mix because like the hi-hats were always louder than other mixers. And it's something that just like stuck out to me, and I always kind of noticed that.
Right.
And I think there are going to always be some obvious things like that, but I feel like because, like you said, it's such a post-genre world, it's such the technology is changing so rapidly, and songwriting is changing so rapidly, and the way that songs are being made and presented and found are all changing so differently. Like I almost feel like there's not enough time for specific sounds and signature sounds to develop, if that makes sense. It's almost like I feel like it's a shifting shoreline.
Yeah.
That sounds smarter than maybe it actually is, but I'm going to pretend I sounded wise there for a moment.
Yeah.
I think our signature sounds are not set in stone like we kind of imagine them to be, or we used to look at them in the past. I think they are these like shifting shorelines of the things that we're really excited about now, the things that we're listening to, the things that we're trying and experimenting with, the things our clients are encouraging us to do or enabling us to do or telling us not to do, whatever that is.
Yes. So yes, I totally agree with you that the palette changes, right? The signature shifts like the sand, like the shoreline. But also, you said something earlier that resonated with me of like I think early projects that you do might actually shape what your sonic sound, like what your sonic signature is. So like those first few records you make, I think might have like an oversized impact. And obviously it will shift as time goes on and you work with more things. But like, I don't know, I think like a lot of the records I made towards the beginning of my career maybe cemented some sonic things that maybe I would even not want to have, but like they're just there. Like, working with like folk singers and like doing things that are a little bit more gentle has maybe led me to do things more gently than I would like to. Maybe that's not true. Also, people saying no, like you said, people saying no. Like, I think times I've tried to get more aggressive with mixes. Sometimes, like people say, no, back off. Like I had that a lot happen to me like at the beginning. I think that maybe made me more conservative than I would want to be in terms of like being aggressive with mixes, if that makes sense. And that's something totally. That like, and I feel like that might be part of my sonic signature. Not that I'm not aggressive. Like I definitely use a lot of saturation and stuff. But like, I don't know. There's some maybe what the way things sound is like the way I mix things sound. I don't know. I'm not gonna like rip your ear off with like sharpness and I always want there to be like a fluffy or something like that balances things out in the low end to make the song feel like, I don't know, full and round and not overly aggressive. I don't know that it's hard to explain, but that's sort of what I'm getting at. I hope the audience is not like, Ben, shut the like, what are you talking about? But anyways, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but I think like a lot of those early experiences, and that has to do with like the city I'm located in, the kinds of artists I was working with, right? Like that, I think that had maybe an oversized impact on how I approach things. And even though things shift in time, and I have done some stuff that are more maybe different than that, but like I think some of that you carry with you, and it's and it just like affects how the sounds you choose.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
if we go with the shoreline metaphor, it's like the island isn't moving. It's like the island's not moving, but the the sands are shifting.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, and yeah. So I think that if we look at it that way, I think for myself, some of those foundational, island bedrock kind of things. Like, sorry, some of those like foundational island bedrock things in my past, I think were maybe not even things that I did as a musician or as an engineer, and I think it's for me like the stuff I listen to, and I always say about how I listen to equal parts Backstreet Boys and Aphex Twin because it's true, and I did, and I think looking back, like that explains so much about the kinds of music that I love working on, and I just like I've been working on some songs with this band Saint Slumber, who I love, 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 love. And the most recent song that we were working on, I did it live in a masterclass, and it is exactly that. It's like all of the super catchy, fun playfulness of like a straight up like pop song, but sonically it's just like very gritty and gross and like very Nine Inch Nailsy in some of the textures, but not in the actual like execution of it. And those are the things that I get really drawn to. And when I think about those the characteristics of music that I'm always going to be sucked into, like big catchy vocals, massive rhythm sections, lots of little nerdy nuances, like that's it. That's the big mountain and the volcano in the center of the island for me.
Nice.
Huh. Yeah, I never thought about that. I don't know. I never thought about it in this way before, but it's still making sense. I haven't poked a hole in my own my own analogy yet, which is good.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you. I think the music you grow up listening to affects everything. Like what you loved as a kid is going to affect, like for me, Beatles are always going to be ground zero. Like that's like always like the first, like that's like the bottom line. It starts with the Beatles. Good melodies, great sounds, catchy hooks, like blatant bass lines, Mm-hmm. Those are stuff that I'll always gravitate towards because that's like, for me, that's the foundation. And so yeah, like for sure, and then like the stuff that like, I don't know, I learned bass on also like has also like a very deep place in my musical, my sonic signature, as we say. So like, that now we're moving over to like Motown stuff, and so like also there blatant bass lines. So yeah,
Or
I definitely think
bass. You
I'm
have
also a bass player. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
well, you're a bass player, but like you're drawn to like the melody of a bass.
I'm drawn to I'm drawn to like
I feel like
an interesting bass line that like supports a song, but isn't a disappearing bass line. Like I'm not so interested in like just straight eighth notes or like Metallica where you can't even hear the bass. Mm-hmm. Like I like a even if it's a simple bass line, but it's supportive, but it also like does something interesting. Like the bass player from Radiohead does a great job at that. Colin Greenwood, he's amazing at like doing like supportive bass lines, and sometimes they do something really interesting. Yeah. Or just like if you listen to like the song "Nude" on In Rainbows, like that's like a bass line. Like who would have thought to play that? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, but like it's not overly out there, but it's out there.
Yeah, and it's like if there was an award for best supporting actor in the bass category, those are the kinds of those.
Yes.
That's
those are the
your
roles
place,
I love.
Right? That's the roles. Like you don't like. Because I know like we've talked about music, a ton. So like it's not like a crazy virtuosic bass as the lead instrument kind of stuff. But like you said, it's also not just, I'm trying to think of like what's the most.
Like I'm not so into Jocko, but like Flea, who's supportive in his like funky flashiness.
Yeah,
I do dig that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah.
I'll stop going deep on the bass, but like yeah, being a bass player is a big part of my sonic signature. and
Yeah.
I can't get and like, you know, we've spoken about this. Like, I always want people to hear the bass line because it sucked when I couldn't hear the bass line growing up as a kid. And I had a chat with Shakar Busani back in the day on the podcast, and he also is a bass player. And he also was saying like, yeah, I wanted to hear that bass line growing up, and if I didn't, it really sucked. So I want to make sure that the bass is at least heard in the mix. And yeah, and I think like, again, like I don't think I'm making the bass sound too loud, but I want to make sure that the listener hears it and it's present in the mix.
Mm-hmm. And as a performer and producer, you want to make sure that the bass deserves to be heard. You know,
Yeah.
and it isn't just like you're not making it loud just because it's a bass. It's like you want to make sure that the part is actually kind of worthwhile.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like every bass line has to have like one spot where it pokes through, you know, at least in the song, at least one like pokey spot in the song where like, oh, what was that? And then the listener remembers what the bass was, the bass after that. Because if the bass doesn't have anything like that, then people like don't realize there's even a bass in there. Yeah, 100%. So is there anything else that, any other parts of your theory or things you've been thinking about in terms of sonic signature, Carl?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of the current hypothesis that I'm kind of coming to in this conversation is that, you know, our sonic signature is not what we think it is. It's not going to be something set in stone. It's not going to be something obvious. It's going to be most likely something that is nuanced and shifting and not just informed by the music that we make, but also informed by the people that we work with and the music we listen to now and the music we listen to growing up.
Yeah. I have like a bit of a proposition, not like, or just like a interesting thought experiment to like, what if you radically tried on purpose to change your sonic signature to something that you don't even recognize? Like, would that be a helpful thing to make you a better engineer, or would you lose your soul trying to do that?
I don't think you'd lose your soul trying to do that if you were doing it as an experiment and as something to learn from. If you were forced to do that as your sole means of making a living and that was just like what you had to do all day, every day, then I feel like it would kind of suck your soul out. Like if you needed to do it, if there was some sort of sonic...
What if there was like a project that like the artist wanted you to like really experiment and like, let's do a mix where you just do something totally weird and something you would never think about doing. And if we don't like it, we can always do what you would usually do. But let's try to do something insane and push your boundaries and do something that you wouldn't necessarily think to do. Is that like a good thing to do?
Oh yeah, I'd love that personally, but I'm a weirdo.
Yeah, I would also like that.
Yeah. I think it just comes down to, you know, the scope of it, and is it something where you're doing it as an experiment and to try something, or is it like, oh, this is the new me. I want to shape a new version of Carl that is based on, I don't know, not having any drums and not liking distortion and not making things memorable. I'm going to do that on purpose. You know what I mean? Like
memorable is not a sonic signature. Memorable is a song, I don't know.
I would disagree.
Explain.
I would say, you know, memorability and catchiness is part of the sonics. It's part of the signature.
But isn't that part of the music itself, not like how it's treated sonically?
I would argue that you can't really separate them because the sonics are the expression of the music. If they're not connected to the music itself, then if they're not connected to the song and the decisions aren't made based on the intentions of the song, then what's the point?
Right. Well, now you're getting back to like we're all really doing production, even when we're mixing, which I'm down to agree with, basically. But I think it's hard to push the boundaries of your sonic signature when you're working because people want to get a good product. People trust you because they heard your other mixes. And it's sort of like, okay, this is the song. Let's do it. We have a time limit. You know what I mean? Like the constraints of being a working stiff engineer, I think makes it hard to push your sonic signature boundaries because unless you're Carl and you're working on all kinds of crazy shit every other day, it's hard to do that, because people come to you for a certain reason, and then you kind of just have to do the thing because there isn't infinite time anymore. We're not in our teens and 20s that we just can like putz around forever. I don't know. I think there is something a little bit limiting.
I don't. I don't want to go into a whole conversation about like the business side and like proactivity and like trying to reshaping your clientele. But I think if you are relying purely on word of mouth referrals for work, then I agree with you. And I think that's also part of why I'm so adamant about not relying on word of mouth or not waiting around for word of mouth to happen. Because if you're at a stage of your life where you want to experiment, then seeking out clients that are going to encourage you to experiment and still pay you,
that's a great point and a great tip. And I accept that 100%. But nevertheless, once even you've done all, the outreach and you're trying to work with different kinds of things, at a certain point, you're there with the artist, they're giving you money, they need it turned around. Like at that point, you still have to just do the thing, which, I don't know. You can only be so radical when you're a hired gun,
Okay, I can see the argument.
I don't know.
But I guess,
I think your point is really good. Like I think it's like you can move that needle. You can do it by shifting your clientele, by like reaching out to new artists, and you could do all kinds of stuff like that. But it's still a long game. You know what I mean? It's not like, okay, here's a song, do something insane.
Well, there's also, I would say, a difference between experimenting with the outcome of like trying to get like the craziest sounds possible, but also there's experimenting with your own process and like how do we get what they want in a way that I'm not used to getting there. Like I know I know what plugins I would use to do this. I know what techniques I would use to achieve this, but like are there other ways that I could try to still go for that same end result, but maybe discover some new techniques or some new I wasn't trying to like I keep on flipping my my hoodie string. But maybe there are some new ways that I can approach that process and that problem solving, with a different approach rather than always basing my experimentation on how weird can it get or like how weird can the outcome be.
Right. Cool. I like that. That's a good tip.
Yeah.
So for the listeners, think about how the music you listened to growing up influenced what you love. And think about how the artists that you've worked with have influenced the way you work on music and question that. But also maybe like it and be proud of it. And hopefully all these things will amalgamate in a specific sonic signature for you. And you will make music that only you could have made and will resonate with the world and bring world peace and good things for everyone.
What the fuck, Ben? Dude, you need sleep.
I need sleep. I told you, I'm stretched to the limit.
Wow. Here. That went from like a genuine way to end the episode into some sort of like Chat GPT Miss America answer. I don't even know what that was, but I'm just going to say bye, Ben.
Wait. Should I wrap it up for real though?
No, just leave it. Bye, Ben.
Bye, Carl.